Welcome in, everybody. Thursday night here on Twitch, on YouTube, and on X. It's another edition of the Joe Quill Show. Welcome in. Hope everybody's doing well out there as we get the show started here on this Thursday night. And let me get my banner up here because I was not paying attention here. We had some technical difficulties at the start. The program wasn't kicking over, so do apologize for starting a few minutes later than I wanted. But hey, sometimes the gremlins are out and about. So if you're watching right now, you can see what I plan to talk about. Sad news out of Tampa. Ex Clipper staffer sues this team. Investigation about Embiid. I got a video I want to comment about. Uh, Ohtani's not going to be pitching. I'll give you thoughts on that. And also, the Philly Fade's going to return tonight. Hopefully, we can have a winning record this week after last week going um, 3-4. So we'll see what we get into here tonight, and welcome everybody wherever you are. I see that we have people watching on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, the my Twitch, and also my X. So, well, not my X, but my X is in my Twitter, but you get the idea. So, anyways, um, we will get everything started here on this Thursday night, and the fourth of four shows that I do every week. I'm here every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, we start at 10. We start after tea time with Chef Tom. Chef Tom and Frank gave out some good picks like they always do. I just, of course, because I'm a dope, I didn't make any notes about them. But then again, I was sweating out a parlay last night, which did hit, thankfully. So yeah, I took the Philly fade seriously last night. I played Milwaukee minus 4.5, and Milwaukee won by what, 20, something like that. And then we had the Washington Capitals minus a goal and a half over the Flyers, and that was a win. Got a little hairy there for a while because it was 4-0 and then went to 4-3. But it was a small wager, $10 wager. It got me $54 in return. And I get to use that for the horses this weekend on FanDuel. And yeah, I'll tell you more about that, about horse racing stuff when we get near the end of the show here. Um, so let's get to it here. And unfortunately, we start with some sad news today. Um, um, where is it? I apologize. You can tell I am disorganized as always. You think that my show is organized. It's really not. I mean, I had my papers in the wrong order, and you know, you know, my my apartment is a mess. That's why we got the backdrop again tonight. Hopefully Saturday will be um, okay. I do kind of want to hang a picture because I did find a picture of um, um, the the old stadium complex. I had a picture of it. I had it for about a year and a half, but it was still in the folder, still in the envelope that I got it in. Um, I was moving some things around. I was like, oh, that's right, I did buy this, and I never put it up to hang in the apartment, um, but I got another one on the way. I think it's a interesting one. It's more music related, but it is Philly centric as well. So, the site that I got it from is not a sponsor of the show or Bleacher Brothers, so I'm not going to mention the site. If you want to ask me privately, I'll tell you. But in public, on this stream, no. But anyways, sad news out of Tampa today. This uh, a sad story, and also a little weird here. I mean, not weird as in what happened, because this does happen from time to time in the medical world, but um, South Florida basketball coach Amir Abdur-Rahim suddenly passed away today at the young age of 43. And, you know, and I said 63 was too young for Pedro, for Fernando Valenzuela when we talked about him last night. 43 is way too young. So, um, yeah, the school announced that he died this morning or earlier today. Um, he was undergoing a medical procedure at a Tampa area hospital when he died due to complications that arose during the procedure. Um, I don't know what the procedure is. They don't go into detail, and they don't. And truthfully, they don't have to. I mean, even though we know that there's HIPAA laws and stuff like that, it was. Yeah, I saw that today. I was like, wow, because just the fact that I know that South Florida went from one of the worst programs in college basketball 2 years ago to being a top 25 school for part of the year last year. Um, you really just shake your head at the fact that someone so young died today, essentially on the operating table, if I'm picturing this right and I'm reading this right here. So he was going under that procedure. He died during the complications that arose. Um, it's just, I mean, these things happen from time to time, but not to a 43-year-old guy who also was probably in top physical shape too. Or if he wasn't in top physical shape, he was still in physical shape, and a healthy young man. And 43 years old, it's mind-boggling that somebody so young could die like that. Um, Athletic Director Michael Kelly said that all of us with South Florida athletics are grieving with the loved ones of Coach Abdur Rahim. He was authentic, driven, and his infectious personality captured all of Bulls Nation. Um, Coach Abdur Rahim leaves a lasting impact on our student athletes, the university, and our community. We are supporting those closest to him, including his family, team, athletic staff, to ensure they have the resources they need to deal with the tremendous loss, especially a loss where totally out of nowhere. I mean, it's a shock when somebody passes away, but when somebody passes away who's that young and from what doesn't have any medical issues. Now, he may have had issues, we don't know. That's a great thing about HIPAA laws is, you can keep things private and just way too young, man. Um, and I mentioned the turnaround that he had at South Florida. He guided South Florida to one of the biggest turnarounds in the country last season, leading the Bulls to a record 25 wins and the program's first AAC regular season title. Um, before he took over in 2023, the school never finished above 500 in the AAC and had finished over 500 overall just once since 2012. Obviously, he was selected the AAC Coach of the Year last year. And I said that they were ranked first 8 in the AP Top 25 for the first time in school history. Um, he spent 4 seasons at Kennesaw State before moving to South Florida, leading the Owls to the NCAA tournament appearance in 2023. He was the architect of an incredible program rebuild, going from one win in his first season at the helm to 26 in his final campaign. And the finality of his life is really strikes when you see and you read the words final campaign, because it's like, wow. Now, if the name Abdur Rahim is ring a bell at you, you're not the only one, because he is the younger brother of former Cal star and NBA veteran Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who is now president of the G League. Now the younger Abdur-Rahim spent time on the coaching staffs at Georgia, Texas A&M, Charleston, Georgia Tech, and Murray State. Um, and he was influential in getting Anthony Edwards recruited, uh, and who went on to be the number one overall pick in the 2020 draft. And this is the type of guy that he was. Um, Before he left Georgia for Kennesaw State, he called Edwards to get his blessing. He said, signing a guy like Anthony, that's a relationship that had been 4 years building and in the making. There were people around that had real relationships with that trusted myself and coaching staff at Georgia, that trusted me to be there. And Abdur Rahim said that on the Coaching Origins podcast back in 2022. Before I accepted the job, I called a few people. I called Anthony. I said, hey, man, I got this opportunity, but if you need me here, I'll stay. I'm perfectly okay with that. And, it wasn't like, and that's something I respect because, okay, you have an opportunity to advance yourself as a coach, even though you're going from the SEC to, I believe, Kennesaw State's in the Atlantic Sun. Well, whatever conference they're in. You're going from a big school as an assistant to a small school, but you're taking that step forward in your coaching career, being a head coach, and you know he's getting the blessing of certain players and everything that he's closest with to say, listen, if you need me here, I'll be here. But and the one thing I will say is whether you're looking for the blessing of somebody or not, um, I know this is the case when I'm turning my life into a sad story here, but maybe we can learn something from this as well. Um, when it comes to the fact that he got their blessing, the one thing I will say to you guys is, uh, you know, even if you're, even if you don't get the job, but in his case, he was offered the job. It was his to take. He wanted to make sure that the ones he was closest with among the team were to do so. You know, I just think that you just, at least me personally, um, because the worst thing that happens is, if you're a stand-up person, you gain the respect of the players, but also the one thing I would say when I went to the MLB Baseball Diversity Summit a few years back, um, I wasn't looking for a job, but I went through an impromptu interview process because it was just something they were doing. But also, I hadn't gone through a job interview in 20 years or close to that. So, and I said to the guy, I said, I do appreciate that you're doing this, even though we know, even though what happened with this was, and I wasn't prepared with a resume because um, person that we met down there said, hey, you got to totally redo this. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But a lot of what they, sometimes it's the experience of just going through the interview process. And he's obviously gone through a ton of interviews with all the coaching jobs that he had. But that's one thing I would say um, in terms of the interviews. But but you could see he was a stand-up type of guy. you know and he wasn't leaving anybody behind without their blessing or anything like that. And real, it seems like a real good person passed away way too young. um, uh, USF President Rhea Law said, in a very short time, Coach Abdur Rahim made an indelible impact on the University of South Florida. In the first season as our head coach, he brought in unmatched enthusiasm, achieved unprecedented success, and helped generate unforgettable memories for Bulls Nation. Throughout my time working with Coach Abdul Rahim, I, I was continually inspired by his leadership and truly admired his sincere approach to connect with our entire student body. His influence on our student athletes, coaching staff, and university community will live on forever. So, but I will say this: way too young, and you know, we hear the nicest things when a person passes away, but I think that even in the most I think that even if he didn't pass away and, they would say, I think that exactly what you would get here and, way too young. Um, hopefully, hopefully, his family, would be allowed time to grieve because, in even the team and the whole athletic department in school for that matter, because it was such a tragic event that occurred here. So, but unfortunately, um, he passed away, Amir Abdurrahim, at the age of 43. Um, so I apologize. The caffeine has worn off on me already, but I do apologize. I got to learn to stop yawning like that, but that's just me. But um, so we'll get into some NBA here and little story that I saw today that was interesting, and then I'll get into a little something with um, Joel Embiid. Um, one of the sports talk stations, um, one of the guys posted a video about what he thinks about Joel Embiid and the Sixers, and personally, I think he's misguided, and I won't be afraid to say that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in a way, there are two people that there's others, but I think the two poster children for load management and the 65 games that you got to play now to get to be considered for the postseason awards and stuff like that. The two poster children, for the most part, are Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid. Now, Joel Embiid, a lot of dumb luck with his injuries. He was injured even coming to Philly because if you remember, he missed the first 2 years with back injuries and God knows what else it was. I don't even remember. Um, but apparently, an ex Clippers staffer is suing the team. Says he was fired over Kawhi Leonard concerns. Now, there's all kinds of twists and turns with this story, so um, hopefully you can keep track of this because even me, I was reading, I was like, all different things going on here. So, so a former Clippers strength and conditioning coach who says he was hired in 2019 as a part of a years long campaign, plural, to recruit Kawhi, had sued the team and president of basketball operations Lawrence Frank, alleging wrongful termination in part of raising concerns about the management of Leonard's health and injuries. Um, this was filed in Los Angeles County by attorneys representing Randy Shelton, who joined the Clippers on July 1st, 2019, as a strength and conditioning coach after serving in a similar role at San Diego State, where he worked with Leonard before Leonard joined the Spurs in the 2011 draft. Shelton said he was part of a multi-year effort to recruit Leonard that leapt well beyond the bounds of the NBA Constitution. Well, I think the NBA will start investigating this as well, because of the fact that when this is hitting the fan, uh, this is really going to hit the fan, so to speak. So, um, Now, Shelton is seeking significant but unspecified damages at damages at trial. So he's looking for some money, obviously. Um, the Clippers denied the allegations in a statement saying that Mr. Shelton's claims were investigated and found to be without merit. We honored Mr. Shelton's employment contract and paid him in full. This lawsuit is a belated attempt to shake down the Clippers based on accusations that Mr. Shelton should know are false. So this is a obviously going to be a he said, she said issue. It'll just be a matter of who's the he here. If you remember that quote from Chris Pronger, he once said, "This is a he said, she said issue, and I'm the he." Well, we'll see who wins in court if it gets to that point. Um, the NBA said it was unaware of the lawsuit through a spokesperson. I'm sure they're trying to find out about this as well. But, this is definitely something here. Shelton said that the Clippers first contacted him in 2017 after Leonard, who was then under contract with the Spurs, suffered a severe ankle injury in Game 1 of the 2017 Western Conference Finals against Golden State Warriors. That injury ended Leonard's postseason, and he missed the first 27 games of the next season with a quad injury, right quad injury. Doesn't say what ankle he hurt, so I'm guessing it may be the right one. But the reason why I'm questioning that is because how that song, the leg bone's connected to this bone and this bone's connected to that bone, that sort of thing. That's what I'm thinking here. I mean, was it the same ankle and then, because you're trying to rehab, you end up doing something else, or you're trying to compensate? That's what I'm thinking. But um, now that injury ended Leonard's postseason in 2017, as I mentioned. Leonard's injury and subsequent rehab created a rift with the Spurs, leading him to seek a second opinion outside the organization. And there was all the stuff that was going on with Kawhi and him ending up in Toronto where he won the championship. Um, in June 2018, Spurs president R.C. Buford acknowledged the team was willing to explore all of our options as Leonard had grown disgruntled with the franchise. Um, the Clippers were one of the teams that sought to acquire Leonard, but Leonard was traded to Toronto, and we know what happened in Toronto that year. Um, in his conversation, Shelton said the Clippers executive discussed bringing Shelton into the Clippers organization as a strength and conditioning coach, given the personal relationship and trust that Leonard had in Shelton. Shelton said he was hired by Leonard to help him prepare for the WNBA, and that they maintained a relationship through 2017 as Leonard's stardom rose with the Spurs. As you know, he also won an NBA title. Leonard did in 2014 with San Antonio. Shelton alleges that the Clippers' recruiting efforts were in disregard of the NBA's prohibitions on tampering. Now, this is Article 35 of the Constitution of the NBA. The NBA Constitution prohibits teams from directly or indirectly attempting to entice players under contract with one team to join a different team. So, all this is going to turn into, who do you believe? And it's, this may be an interesting case. I'm sure we'll totally forget about this for about a year or two, and then all of a sudden it's like, Shelton wins the case against the LA Clippers, and but now Shelton said he was promised a bright future with the Clippers, and at that time he had a thriving business in San Diego and a respected position with San Diego State. So they knew how to get the information they wanted for Kawhi Leonard. And, this is definitely something I'm not surprised about. Um, especially when you're in that general area, where he went to college too, because it's not like you're coveting. It's not like the Sixers were coveting Kawhi Leonard. They probably were, but you didn't go after this guy if you allegedly did so because, oh, by the way, that he was there at San Diego State. Kawhi went to San Diego State. You can get him to give some information. Who knows what the Sixers did if they did anything, for example, for Kawhi Leonard or any other person. But if you compare the Sixers being on the East Coast and the Clippers only being an hour or two away from San Diego, obviously you're looking at a totally different situation here. So, they took advantage of even the geography to get some inside information if you want to consider what they're doing inside information, if you believe this is true. And that's the one thing I will say, if you believe it's true, because, you know, how many times have we read something and it was totally false? Or even if what happened was true, it still got thrown out of court. Because the one thing I will say is, even if somebody is acquitted or not guilty, whatever verbiage they want to use, if there's a difference between acquitted and not guilty, I don't even know anymore. But the one thing is, I will say that 9 times out of 10, depending on the verbiage, if you want to believe acquitted and not guilty are the same. I don't know if they are or not. Let's pretend they are. If they're not, you know, I would say 9 times out of 10 that something did happen, but to the extent that the lawsuit will will lead to compensation, who knows? I don't know. But um and also you could even tell in 2019 that um the Clippers were working hard to get Kawhi on the team um because the Clippers personnel attended many of Leonard's games in Toronto during the 2018-2019 season, and the team was fined $50,000 in May of 2019 for then Clippers coach Doc Rivers' public comments that compared Leonard to Michael Jordan. So, you basically, even if you talk about somebody like that, boom, you get hit hard with the fine. So, I mean, you got to be careful because um, more times than not, when you're on interviews with more bigger radio shows and all that, they're going to say some things that the NBA is going to take as they're going to take as um, what's the word I'm looking for? Tampering. They're going to consider it tampering, even if the intent isn't there, because they want to make sure that everything is on the up and up. But I think that even if this is true, now if you believe it's false, okay, no problem. I'm sure other teams do stuff like this as well. It's just that, you know, I mean, contracts run out. Now, the way that this reads, it's a matter of, did the contract run out or was he fired or anything like that? So you got to figure out what you're going, you got to figure out, you know, everything with this. So, um, but it does look like that they were working on him for a long time. They knew that they were one of the two teams that were close to him in terms of geography to his college. And let me just check one thing because I think he grew up. I think he was born or grew up in. Um, he was born in L.A., played at San Diego State. Okay, so he did play in the area. So he didn't necessarily go to a big a Pac-12 school like UCLA or USC, who are now in the Big Ten, but he went to a school like San Diego State, which is in the Mountain West, which is one of those mid majors. Um, so you do have these. Um, so he was in the area, and they know certain things about him. I'm sure there's probably there was things where they knew about this guy. They investigated this guy so that they can lure him in, so that they can bring Kawhi in. So I think there may be even more to this, but we may have a situation where even if this stuff is true, they probably aren't going to do anything about. I mean, it probably won't be anything that happens with the suit, but who knows? But um, so after the Clippers signed Leonard in July 2019, Frank said during an introductory news conference, "We never had a conversation with Kawhi or any of his people. We always felt by doing it out in front that we were being very, very transparent. We know the rules, we follow the rules with how Steve Ballmer, the owner, does business. His integrity is number one. We're always going to be above the line." Might have to question that if they find in favor of Shelton here. You would think, or maybe, and I'm not, you know, and I'm sure if somebody really wanted to clip this, you know, I'm throwing the caveat here, and you can. I will just say watch the whole video instead of just like the next 5 seconds. But you never know. Maybe Bomber is a BS artist because I can tell you what, a lot of businesses are BS artists. It doesn't matter who it is, But a lot of times, um, they will do what they can to succeed, even if it's to get rid of somebody, like they did with this guy. Now, around February 2019, Shelton said he met in San Diego with Lawrence Frank, who personally assured him that he would have a role in the team's strength and conditioning staff if Leonard joined the Clippers. Shelton said he met with the Clippers again during the Raptors' playoff run regarding Leonard's willingness to join the team. So, what you're telling me is if all this is true from Shelton's perspective, not only was he a conduit to the Clippers, even though he didn't technically have a job, he was recruiting him, which is tampering. And you did see one case of tampering, and who knows, you probably you could probably look and see months and months of tampering. Now, with a lot of what they mention here, you know, now granted, this is a lawsuit that is more civil than criminal. The WNBA. I still got WNBA stuck in my head because SJ has been showing me pictures from um, the celebration at the um, of the New York Liberties championship. Thankfully, she hasn't sent anything recently, but the one thing I would say is it sounds like there was something going on here, and I don't know about you, but I mean, you know, The Clippers going to act like denial isn't just a river in Egypt here. They're going to deny everything. Because remember, now I don't know if this case is where you need a majority, because I think this is more of a civil case than it is a criminal case. So I don't know if this type of a case would be, um, even if it is a jury trial, it may not even be a jury trial. If it's a jury trial, is it going to be 7 versus 5 that wins? Or is it just a judge that says, uh, you know, judgment for the plaintiff, judgment for the defendant, I'm tossing this out of court, whatever. I don't know. But you can tell that, I mean, I think even looking back with hindsight being 2020, the fact that they tampered with the comments that um, they compared Kawhi Leonard to Michael Jordan, you know, now that we look back at it, maybe they were tampering all this time, and maybe it does make sense that Kawhi did sign with with the Clippers at around 2:30 in the morning Eastern time. If you remember that. Um, Now the Clippers did hire Shelton in July 2019, but soon after joining the team, Shelton said his role was diminished and that he was excluded from meetings and that information about Leonard's health was withheld from him. Now, if you're offering a strength and conditioning position, you're not letting him train, strengthen, condition, anything that he's supposed to do there, then then you were just using him to get Kawhi into the team, onto the team, in my opinion. So you could be looking at him winning this case, him meeting Shelton. Um, but Leonard has had several injuries, even with the Clippers. He had an ACL tear in his right knee in the second round of the 2021 playoffs. He underwent surgery in July 21 and sat out the 21-22 season. And it was weird surroundings about that injury as well, because he would be sitting there in the press box. He'd be like, "Well, we don't know the injury, and we're not going to release any details." But it's kind of, I mean, it was almost like hockey, where in hockey they always tell you upper body injury, lower body injury. This was a little different, but it was typical weirdness with Kawhi Leonard, because in a way he is a weird dude, but he's just very introverted. Um, um, Shelton said the recovery target for Leonard, who had suffered numerous injuries previously, should have been 730 days, which is 2 years. But the Clippers considered that timeline unacceptable. So they were probably looking at just the knee injury and saying, who knows what they were thinking, but I imagine what they're saying is, well, this is an injury to his knee. A knee usually takes 6 to 12 months, blah, 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 whatever their time frame is for a torn ACL. But um, Shelton also said that in August 2022 meeting with the members of the medical team, it was agreed that the team would apply load management principles for Leonard, restricting him from playing in back-to-backs and limiting his minutes as he recovered. Kind of like, I mean, doesn't that sound like some of the stuff that um, Joel Embiid's going through right now? It does to me. Also, remember, load management pretty much started with Greg Popovich in San Antonio, because remember, he wasn't worried about getting the number one seed. If his team got the number one seed, great. He just wanted to get to the playoffs, because he knew, even though you may have had home court advantage, I should say, even though you had home court, we're going to beat you. And he did that 5 different times, winning championships. Um, now, he returned in October 22, 16 months after his injury, but he complained about swelling and inflammation after 2 games. Leonard missed 12 games in his first 2 weeks of the season. Uh, with knee issues. I think that's I think that's not 2 weeks. It may even be 2 months now that I'm reading that, but that's this article. It's not necessarily what I'm saying. Um, Shelton said that 2 ruptured ligaments in his right ankle on November 21st, 2022, causing him 6 more games early in the season. Leonard tore his right meniscus in a playoff series against the Suns. After that injury, Shelton said he wrote a complaint to Frank about his diminished role and how his team has managed Leonard's health. He said he noted the mishandling of Kawhi Leonard's injury and return to play protocol had been mind blowing and that the disregard for his recovery process is unacceptable. Shelton also said the Clippers had placed more of an emphasis on Leonard's productivity than his recovery. Frank responded the next day, "We take your concerns very seriously and will promptly move forward with an investigation." Probably didn't have one. But um, Shelton says allegations were found to be unsubstantiated, of course, and that Frank terminated him without cause in July 2023. He said that he was not compensated for wages owed, including expenses and reimbursements. John David, one of Shelton's attorneys, said, "We hope our client's lawsuit will serve as a wake-up call to the Clippers organization that their players are not just dollar values, but humans requiring proper and not hastened health and recovery treatments for their careers and lives afterwards." Um, Now, Shelton's attorney also said that their client would cooperate with any investigation into the Clippers' conduct. Now, last year, Kawhi played in 68 games, but he has health issues remaining. He's missed 179 of 435 games since 2019. He remains sidelined indefinitely to start the season while rehabbing inflammation in his right knee. Um, I will even throw in whistleblower. Um, you know, Now I don't know what even a code of conduct is for the Clippers as a whole, but I don't know. I would think that this even qualifies under whistleblower because if, like, I'm comparing. I know I'm going to be comparing apples and oranges as I had the football game on. It's 14-14, just starting the third quarter. Um, the one thing I would say is, um, like, for example, if you remember the whole Penn State stuff with Jerry Sandusky, um, the assistant coach under Joe Paterno, who reported the Sandusky molestation, uh, sexual attack, whatever you want to call it, he was still on Bill O'Brien's staff because of whistleblower laws here in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't know what the laws are in California, but it seems like it is a whistleblower type case as well. Now, the lawyers obviously know more about the law in California than I would, or in general for that matter. But this is screaming numerous things like unfulfilled promises, um, and also, you know, and also not doing an investigation. Probably it just seems like, yeah, we'll just do whatever, and then we'll just say, oh, unfounded, fuck off. It's probably what they did, but but it's all be interesting to see what happens with that. But um, I don't think that you will. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think this is going to be a case where we'll forget about this whole situation. Then a year or two from now, I'll be like, oh, by the way, remember that case? Well, this guy Shelton won, and Clippers are going to be fined by the NBA X millions of dollars and all this other stuff because I'm sure the NBA is eventually going to investigate this as well because anytime there's a personal conduct issue or even something like this, the NBA will get involved and investigate, kind of like what they're doing with Joel Embiid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video here, and I'm going to get to my point here about this. Um, it kind of goes hand in hand with this, but kind of not because, like I said, Embiid and Kawhi Leonard are basically the two poster children right now for load management. And I'm going to play this here. And this is from Fox Sports The Gambler, 102.5 in Philadelphia. It's from their Instagram page. I'm going to play this and I'm going to give my opinions on this here. So let's try that again because I didn't share it. Now we'll play it.
If I'm the NBA, I'm diving in there. I'm saying, what's wrong with Joel Embiid? Is he not truly healthy? What should go down here? And here's what I think the NBA needs to do. We got to suspend Joel Embiid, man. We need to make an example of this. We need to make sure that this load management is not accountable. And you know what? Why don't we suspend him for the entirety of the regular season? Let's make sure this guy cannot step foot on the floor again because of the disrespect that the Sixers are causing to our great NBA league. That's what I want the front office to do, to come down, show this no good Sixers franchise that you can't be manipulating these injury reports and making sure that you have your best players' interest in mind. That is not good enough for us. That's what I want to see from our NBA. For what it's worth, let's suspend Joel Embiid for the length of the entire regular season and make sure that he's healthy for the playoffs because we cannot put up with this manipulation, the injury report, this making sure this guy's not suiting up. No, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're even having this conversation. If I'm the NBA.
Okay, so you hear that, and he wants Joel Embiid suspended? Are you fucking serious? Yeah, I know it's a hot take and I'm responding to a hot take, but you know what? The NBA is investigating this from what we know. And I think we're going to find two things here. We're either going to find out that A, Sixers are fabricating injuries, which wouldn't surprise me either, but I would not be surprised if Joel Embiid, his knee hasn't responded as well as they thought 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months after his injury in Golden State. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But you're looking at an organization that is not trustworthy. We know that. I mean, they want us to trust the process. The process failed. You know, we can agree that the process failed. But suspend Embiid for the year? If I'm not mistaken, Joel Embiid said, I guess I'm not playing back to back games anymore. Well, that wasn't necessarily Embiid saying that because I think Embiid wants to play every game. It's the management, the general manager, it's Daryl Morey, it's the guys upstairs that are saying we can't have you playing back to back nights. It's not Embiid. I think Embiid, if he really wanted to and really could, he would play 70, 75, 80 games. He got his MVP a couple years ago. I think that even though he would like to play 65 games, because remember, all the awards and everything are based on number of games played. And if he doesn't get the number of games played, he doesn't get the money and the max deals and everything that they have, which is all part of the collective bargaining agreement and everything else that's going on with the league. So I don't necessarily think it's Embiid who's manipulating the load management that they're doing. It's the team that's doing it. I mean, even remember his quote unquote rookie year, which was after he was here for 2 years. He was throwing fits that he had to come out of the game because the coaches mismanaged his minutes and they reached his 24-minute limit or his 26-minute limit or whatever the limit was with 4 minutes to go in the game. It's like, oh, we can't have him in the game final 4 minutes. We already had him play his max number of minutes we wanted to play. So I don't want to hear it is Embiid that's the problem. Well, Embiid is a problem, but the problem is he is hurt. He is very fragile. But if you're going to tell me Embiid is the problem, he needs to be suspended, you got to be kidding me that you say that. I mean, I can understand being injured. I can understand that the Sixers decided, you know what? We have this plan. We just got to make sure he plays as many games as possible, as long as it's not back to back nights. And then we'll figure out which night of it is. Because not only do you have Joel Embiid not playing back to back nights, you also don't have Paul George playing back to back nights. And guess what? Are you going to sit both of them the same time, or is the is the whole process of this, pun intended, is the process here? Are you going to have them both sit, or are you going to have one sit and one play, and then you switch it the next night? Well, whatever you're doing, Paul George and Joel Embiid will not be a cohesive unit on the court. And this is actually going to be detrimental to what they want to do and win a championship, because you're not going to win a championship if your big guys are not playing in the same games together. Now, with the way things are in the NBA and everybody, everybody, I mean, it's like this in all sports where everybody's all friends. Um, um, and Mike says, as I said before, you don't sit out the first game of the season. Well, the only reason why the NBA got involved was because it was a national game. If it was a random Wednesday night game on the schedule that was not on ESPN, then nobody would give a shit. But I would not be surprised if either the Sixers get fined heavily because of this, or you're looking at somebody who has a worse knee injury than what is being led on. And even with Kawhi Leonard, we're finding out now that, with this lawsuit that, you know, okay, he did have a torn ACL. He had this injury. He had that injury. I mean, I rattled off a whole bunch of injuries they had over the last 5 years. But I don't, I mean, if I'm naive, I'm naive. I don't give a shit. But somebody up above has told Embiid, you're not playing back to back games the rest of your career, at least not here in Philadelphia. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Joel Embiid gets tired of this and says, you know what? Screw you guys, trade me. But you don't want to do um, a Dennis Lemieux trade me right fucking now like he did in Slapshot. You can't do it in the general public because you'll get fined for it. You got to say, hey, I'm done. Get me out of here. And but the only problem is, will teams want him to be a part-time player? Because he has superstar talent. It's just that he has bad luck that he's always injured. Whether you believe it's bad luck or he's more fragile than China. Not the country, but the plates. But you can't suspend Embiid. You can fine and suspend Daryl Morey, who probably was the culprit here, or maybe somebody above him, because Embiid said, I guess I'm not playing back to backs anymore. That tells me, unless the team told him to fabricate it like that, I think Embiid wants to play more than what he's going to do. He's shown it in the past that he got pissed at in his rookie year that he was only playing 20 some minutes a night. He probably isn't going to like that he's playing 50, 55 games. I think what you have here with a couple of guys who are going to be um, and Mike, I got to fix this. Don't worry. I got to figure that out tomorrow on top of the 86 million other things I got to do. So don't worry about that. But I'm okay with him not. Mike also says, from what did pop up, I'm okay with him not playing back to back. However, he played in the Olympics. If he was still hurt, he should not have played. And I agree, he should not be suspended. Um, and if you remember, uh, who was the head coach on the Olympic team this year? Steve Kerr. Kerr. Penguin, welcome in. Penguin is watching on one of the YouTubes tonight. Um, but the Olympics is only a 2-week thing, but you also had the pre-tournament stuff. Um, I mean, I agree. If he was really hurt, he shouldn't have played, but he did get a couple of months to rest up that knee when the Sixers lost to the Knicks. Because I said from the very beginning, it was, it's a blessing in disguise that he loses that the Sixers lose in the first round. Because guess what? I know you're watching me on YouTube. See, you see that little icon next to your name there? That tells me you're on YouTube. I just don't know which one, nor do I care, because I'm on two different YouTubes right now. But yeah, um, but I don't think this is anything that Embiid concocted. It's it's management that did it because they want to win a championship allegedly. I'll say allegedly because the process failed. Everything else has failed. Um, you still have a minor league team in Tucson, by the way, Penguin. I found that out the other night when somebody got called up to the majors, to the NHL. I know it's not the same thing, but still. Uh, so Penguin does not care for hockey action, yo. Nah, I don't care about it yet. I start caring about it after the Super Bowl. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. I cared about the hockey action last night because um, I did yesterday have um, uh, da, 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 Glenn McNeil was mentioning that he picked the wrong day to give up drinking. I think it was a joke. So here was my response to him, and I'm going to share this here. Um, Glenn Macnow says, it looks like I picked the wrong day to give up drinking. And I responded with, it was a good day to fade both Philly teams. And I had Washington giving up a puck and a half to the Flyers. That got hairy towards the end of the game, but Washington got a couple of empty net goals there. And then I jumped all over Milwaukee -4.5 there. That was an easy win. So, um, oh, helps if I show that here. Hold on. There we go. So Macnell said, looked like I picked the wrong day to give up drinking last night. This popped up today. And then I respond, it was a good day to fade both Philly teams. And I got almost 4.4 times my wager there for that win. Uh, I'll just tell you now, it was a $10 wager because it was the last $10 I had on FanDuel. But, you know, I just knew that the Flyers are going to lose. I knew the Sixers are going to lose. Why not take advantage of it and boom? But you know, but this guy's totally wrong. But I'm not. I mean, there's a reason why that they're the forgotten sports channel because you can't even get 102.5 in many places in the Philadelphia area unless you get them on the internet. But I'm not gonna bash them too much. I'm just gonna bash that individual because Sean Barnard is way wrong there, plain and simple. Um, I just think that uh, is Embiid in trouble? Basically, what happened, Penguin was Embiid is missing the first 3 games of the season. The Sixers are load managing him. They're not allowing him to play in back-to-back games this year. And Embiid had said in the preseason that he's probably not going to play much, many, if any, back-to-backs the rest of his career. I think that was just the management telling him to say that. And I think Embiid wants to play back-to-back if he could, but he's going to listen to management. But he didn't play Wednesday. And any time that your star players do not play in a nationally televised game, the NBA investigates. And also, Embiid didn't play any preseason games either. But sorry about that. But you do have these injuries. You do know that he has a history of injuries. But when you're expected to play, and I don't even throw the Olympics involved in this because you could hurt yourself in September after being totally healthy in July, for example. Um, but I really think what happened here is it's all, it's like, well, we have to investigate because it's a nationally televised game. Now, you don't really have to deal with Paul George because there is video proof and there's also still photo proof that Paul George's knee was hyperextended and was a bone bruise, and they've holding him out the first 3 games. So there's proof of that. There isn't as much proof with Joel Embiid, even though he looked like he got shot 18 times in the playoffs when he got a shooting pain in his knee, because he was probably not uh, um, even uh, injured. But he probably came back too soon. He wanted to come back and help the team. The team won 6 or 7 in a row to end the season, ended up getting the 7th seed, ended up playing the Knicks, and they lost. But I really think that what you're looking at here is, you know, uh, becoming Greg Olson. I think you mean Greg Oden, but I'll go with Greg Olson as well. I know he was injured a lot with the tight end. Just be done. Yeah, I can understand that. Um, but a lot of this stems from, I mean, you can go back to Kawhi even with 2014, where the San Antonio Spurs, they didn't give a rat's ass about you know, anything like players playing X amount of games. They were worried about the playoffs, and it because it worked. Okay, I actually got that right, but I think Olsen was hurt a lot in the NFL as well. But yeah, Greg Oden, he was the guy who was 21 and looked like he was 45. Um, but PG did. It was in the uh, Paul George. Um, he played in 74 games last year, and I think it's even harder. I think it's even harder to play back-to-back nights if you're a West Coast Conference team because you got more mileage to travel because the teams in the East are mostly grouped up together. Whereas once you get to the other side of the Mississippi, things get more spaced out. And that's why even with baseball, I keep telling you that don't be surprised if you see a team in Portland because of the fact that it turns into a travel partner with Seattle. But there's a touchdown for the Rams, but there's a penalty on the play. Let's see here. I'm watching the TV here. Pass interference on the defense. That is a touchdown. And I did play the Rams money line tonight. So just to let you know, um, just doing $10 wagers because trying to um, I'm trying to nurse my money to Saturday because as you'll find out on Also Eligible, we have horse racing action from Keeneland Saturday. Uh, so we'll get to that. So, but I just think that you can't blame Embiid for you can't suspend Embiid. You can't suspend him for being legitimately injured in the past. I think you have to blame the management, not Embiid. I think the I think the idea is there. It's just that you're blaming the wrong person. But that's something. And we'll get into that other injury with Shohei, an update on the injury from last year as well. But just to remind you, I did mention Also Eligible. That will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on the Bleacher Brothers Network. AJ and I will be on the air talking the horses here. We'll be looking probably at the last four races at Keeneland, which will be the last four races of their meet. Uh, Races 7 through 10. They got two stakes races on the card, and hopefully I can get a winner on the card here. So, because especially with the especially with the um, especially with the also eligible picks I have on the show, they have been total garbage. But more times than not, it's like, well, my horse finished a second or third, I get my $5 back because for the last month or so, we have been going with or coinciding with FanDuel, which is one of our one of our partners. Even though I dabble more onto um, the horse racing, the race book, where you get these um, the $5 back if your win wager does not win and your horse finishes second or third, depending on the size of the field. So, but that is something that we'll discuss on Saturday. We'll let you know about that. I'll try to commandeer the screen and show you how to get into that. So, um, and we will also have the Philly Fade here as well in a couple of minutes here. I'm also going to give my World Series pick. Um, Let me see here. SJ sent me a chat. But I lost my train of thought there. Hold on a second. Let me think. Um, but but we'll be doing that on Saturday. Last four races of the card. I forgot what else I was saying. Mike, don't even worry about uh, doing that. Um, but the last few weeks, I'm just reiterating what I said there. Oh, the World Series pick. Yeah, because SJ knew that she wasn't going to be here tonight because she is doing some work with the New York Liberty Bibbity celebration. Uh, I saw her post all day with the um, with the Liberty, the parade itself, going back to the um, going back to the Barclay Center. And I was joking around that somebody needs to do a hangover check on her tomorrow. And she said she's going. She said, "Don't you dare." I'm like, I'm not going to do it, but somebody needs to do it. But I am going to get my World Series pick as part of the Philly fade. So I will have 7 picks tonight. Maybe that 7 is a hint. Maybe it's not. But and don't mind me. I'm just letting SJ know that I am live right now and I just don't care. And I am taking a picture and sending it to her just because. Um, but anyways, um, and Penguin says go Pack go like he always does, and also go Rams. He snuck that go Rams in as I was about to click go Pack go. Uh, but anyways, one final story here, and if you were hoping that Shohei Ohtani was going to pitch in the World Series, stop because he's not, and it's a smart move if you ask me. Um, in a World Series matchup loaded with storylines and even more with the passing of Fernando Valenzuela, one was seemingly put to rest on Thursday, and that's Shohei Ohtani will not make a dramatic return to the mound to face the New York Yankees. You know, it's just a smart thing. Um, so Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, said today, "There's no possibility, none whatsoever. Thank you for asking." Ohtani had not pitched since undergoing major elbow surgery last September with the Angels while he was with the Angels. Now, um, so you do have that. Um, the 2A star was strictly designated hitter this year, and as we all know, he went 50-50 this year. All while he was rehabbing his elbow, he began throwing off the mound in August. Last month, Roberts opened the door for Ohtani pitching in the postseason. However, the Dodgers put the brakes on that idea. Thursday, Roberts slammed the door on it. Meanwhile, did not appear disappointed. Ohtani didn't feel disappointed. I never said to them I wanted to pitch in the postseason. Ohtani said through an interpreter, but um, the Dodgers bullpen has been a key to their success. Also because they've also done bullpen games in the playoffs and winning. Um, the Dodgers just have 3 starters right now, so they're expected to deploy at least one bullpen game of the World Series. The relief corps could receive reinforcements with Alec Vesia. He's a left-hand reliever who had an intercostal injury. Um, Broodstar Gratterall, however you pronounce that, he's trending in the right direction. He missed most of the regular season with shoulder and hamstring injuries, appearing in just 7 games. So they have a wealth of relievers. You can carry 13 pitchers. You might as well carry 10 relievers if you're going to have a bullpen game. Um, you know, but they will look into that. And I mean, um, when it comes to um, what's his face, Ohtani, you know, even if his elbow is 100%, now normally you would have him rehab or whatever, but it's an odd situation because he is pitching. He would be pitching without a rehab assignment. It'd be hard to do a rehab assignment when you're playing as a designated hitter the whole year. But I think with the World Series, I think in some cases you may end up going to um, you may end up re-injuring yourself just on the notion of the pressure of the moment, and you'd be straining the elbow even more because you want to throw it 105 instead of 104. But I think that it's a smart move. You got the guys that can do the job, and why uh, why do that to your star player who is basically a unicorn? Because you don't see many guys, if any, since Babe Ruth, who could both pitch and hit. But I would definitely say that I mean, look more towards the next year, and I imagine what you will do there is you will, once you get down to Arizona where they have spring training, I'm sure they will take into account that a couple more months has passed and gauge that. But you don't need to do it now. You really don't. You know, if you got the guns in the bullpen, why? But then again, you'll basically have a 14th pitcher, even though technically you only have 13. But I understand why they don't want to do it, and you want to make sure he doesn't re-injure himself. Uh, the Ohtani hat trick, no hitter, home run, stolen base. Um, yeah, but be interesting to see what happens with that. So I am going to pull up my DraftKings here now. The way I'm doing this here, um, there they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a couple of college picks, a couple of pro picks. Um, do want to show you one thing first here, and I'm going to share my screen here, my whole screen here, um, just to let you guys know. Okay, I do have a spreadsheet here with every single pick that I have here over the course of this podcast and stream since we ended up bringing the Philly Fade back at the end of August. And yeah, my record sucks, 31-42. But the thing is, I do occasionally give you some odds there. Like for example, the pick I gave you with Saquon Barkley, I could have put a nice dent into my hole here, into my deficit with that plus 350 there that I gave you. So, look, helps if I show you my screen. Um, so there's the spreadsheet there, and I have it color coded and everything for my benefit there. You see that pick that I had Thursday or that I gave last Thursday, plus 350. Um, Don Juan, holy shit! How are you, man? Uh, I didn't move to New York. Oh, okay. I know what you mean now. Sorry about that. I'll get to that in a second here. So basically, all my picks are tabulated here. Now, sometimes I do forget to. Um, Sometimes I forget to um, upload this and save it, but or update the stats. But I do have everything color coded. Everything goes into this category for wins, losses, and pushes because it'll because these three categories here will read the word that's here. So the color is just for me, but uh, so that's that. So Don was saying, when did you move to New York? I did not. But the reason why I have this is, um, I will tell you one thing, Don, and Don's anxious about his Dodgers. Yeah, I would. I mean, if my Phillies were in there, I'd be anxious about my team too, and I understand that. But going back to the statement, when did you move to New York? Big Mike will vouch for this. Mike is on my show on Monday nights here. We do Mondays with Mike and Joe here. Um, have to work on that echo that we have. I think I know. I think it's more on my end than his, but um, I moved everything over to the dining room table. So we're about 10 feet apart. So I think I'm picking up his voice on there, and that's creating the echo. But since we have this setup here, I got a whole bunch of junk behind me. And I'm not going to show it because, I don't want to show how disorganized I am. And, this is only a temporary thing here. So, it may look like I'm in New York, but I'm not. But I know I know he's joking around, but, take advantage of the backdrops that EV Mux has here. So that's what it's all about here. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're joking around with me, but it's cool. I'm okay with it. It's as long as it's not something that is extremely derogatory. And I got a message here. Uh, and don't mind me. I apologize for this. But anyways, so yeah, so I will give a pick for the World Series as well. And you know, SJ is the only one who, I mean, SJ isn't here tonight. She's one of my mods here on Twitch, and also a great friend, and someone I look up to, even though she's about a foot shorter than me. Uh, Now, you would say, "Hey, she can't defend herself." I would say when she's here. I would even say it if she was in the same room that I'm in. Okay, I would say it while she's in this room. Now, I would have loved it if she was modeling that T-shirt that I had that I wanted her to wear. But the 1 in 36 chance of the Phillies and the Yankees meeting in the World Series just did not happen. It's okay. But I even had to wear that damn Yankees T-shirt one night during the summer. But I would be anxious. If I was a Yankees fan, I'd be anxious. I would also be anxious about my Phillies if they were in, and I can understand being anxious about the Dodgers because I think this is a very tight series. And SJ's the only one that knows my pick, but I told her my pick was as of the other night, and I kind of changed it, but I didn't change it too much. But I'm going to make you wait for that. I'm going to make you wait because I'm going to go through my college football picks first here. So, so like I said, I am 21 34 and 0, 21 wins, 34 losses, 382 win percentage. And the one thing that they were saying to me was, it doesn't matter what your win losses are. It's a matter of your units. And everything has been um, nothing. I haven't had a major upset that would give you a huge boost uh, to the deficit, getting you back to zero. But you know, I did have a couple of losses there, but you know, it just happens that way. And I do have my moments where sometimes you end up a million games under, and then you win a million games. So, um, well, I'm going to ask a question here, and I think I asked Mike this question the other night. Um, um, and Don says, I never thought I'd see USC with fewer wins than Rutgers, which is true. But then again, I never thought we would have USC and Rutgers in the same conference. But um, ironically enough, we are going to be talking about that game here. And we're going to begin with that game, which is a late night Friday game. And USC is a 14-point favorite. Ton of points there. USC had that tough loss to Penn State. I was hoping USC would win. I would not be surprised if Penn State loses this week. They take on Rutgers, who have been boat raced the last 2 weeks. And I really think that this is going to decide Rutgers' season in regards to that. And also, you got a short week. Got a short week for Rutgers, and then on top of that, you got to fly cross country. I'll take USC all day there. Minus 14 at minus 108. USC, I think, will win by at least 3 touchdowns there. And then the other game, because I'm only picking 2 games this week, college wise. We got to go all the way down here to the 7:30 game or 7 o'clock. Let me find it here. And I do want to say one thing before there it is. I found it. So the one thing I do want to say is I'm glad that DraftKings allowed me to pick this game for you, the USC Rutgers game, because the last time I tried to pick a Rutgers game, I actually had to log into my account. You had to see that I had only 6 cents in the account or whatever the amount was in there, because for some reason it was reading I was in New Jersey without logging in. And if I'm like I am right now, it's reading me as Pennsylvania. But in New Jersey, you cannot bet on any New Jersey college sports in a New Jersey sports book, either DraftKings or at any of the brick and mortar casinos in New Jersey. So, or even the sports books at Monmouth Park, Meadowlands, Freehold, which is going to be closing at the end of the year. So you do have USC minus 14, minus 108, and Florida State takes on Miami. Florida State has been the biggest disappointment. You know, their coach has got to be fired after the season. You know, you go from 12-0 to 1-7 after this game here. Give me Miami all day at minus 21, at minus 110. And if you really want to do it, if you want to do a 2-pick parlay, it's plus 267. Let me just take a screen capture of that because I share it onto a Discord that I belong to. Let me pull this up here. Um, and I know this is great podcasting and streaming when I go silent like that, and I do apologize. So there's one. So now we're going to go to the NFL here. So let me clear my screen here of these 2 picks since I got the screen capture. Let's go. Let's begin with Tennessee and Detroit. Now, logic tells you, without a doubt, Don Juan says, I ain't laying that number, too many late losses to USC. Don's in LA, so he knows. but I've seen Rutgers, and they've been total dog shit the last 2 weeks. So I respect your point too. So you know, and the one thing I will say to those that are watching this show, watching during the show, watching after, listening to the audio, these are just my suggestions. If you want to fade me, you can do so. If you want to not play them, that's fine too. I always tell you bet within your means. 1-800-GAMBLER if you gambling problem, all that stuff. Um, so you get the idea there. So, I respect that. I respect that opinion, Don, because you are very familiar with the LA scene. Um, Now, everybody's going to think, take the Lions minus 11 and a half. And Detroit will probably win big. But I'm going to give you a reason why I'm not doing that. Detroit played Minnesota this past Sunday, had an emotional come from behind win. I think it was a come from behind win, wasn't it? Well, either way, they did win 31-29. And next week, they play Green Bay. So you could also be looking at a trap game here for Green Bay as well. But I didn't pick that game. Now, one sign that you have a championship caliber team, and I'm just going to point to the 2017 Eagles when they won Super Bowl 52. Every time we thought, Mike will agree with me, every time we thought it was a trap game, the Eagles were blowing the other team out. So I will say here, um, if you were to come to me on Monday night and you say, "Oh, I told you so that Detroit was going to blow out Tennessee," okay, that's fine. If I lose, I lose. Just remember this is the Philly fade, and feel free to fade my picks if you want to do so. But I'm taking Tennessee here plus 11 and a half on the basis that this has the potential of being the mother of all trap games for the Detroit Lions. And we will see if they fall into the trap or they just blow out Tennessee by 50. Sorry, I didn't get the microphone up fast enough when that car went by me. I do apologize. The window's closed, but you still get that residual noise here, so I do apologize there. So my first pick is Tennessee plus 11 and a half at minus 108 in what I feel is a trap game. Next, we'll skip over the Eagles Bengals game because that is a game we always pick something with the Eagles Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's lost their last two games here. They lost. Excuse me. They lost their two top wide receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's out for the year. Um, right now, if you had to put a gun to my head and said you got to pick the line here, and don't even worry about the vig and all that, I'm going Falcons here. But um, but the thing is, let me just see something here. I'm going to manipulate the line here. And this isn't a move that you normally do, but I don't want to play Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5 at minus 118. And Don agrees with me there um, with the 11.5 points being way too much, no matter who the opposition is. And uh, so, yeah, I understand that. And I see that other comment here, and I will get to that, Don, in a second about the Vikings. Um, the thing is with me, I do not want to give 18% of my money to the house. So, basically, if this were a bet where I follow the odds there, I would have to pay $118 to win 100 back. Now, granted, if I win, I get $218 back, but I'm risking 118. But the one thing I always tell you as well is I will not shame you if you say, I'm betting $5. Well, I bet $10 on the money line on the Rams tonight, and that's looking damn good right now. Why am I doing $10? It's just because I'm trying to do something to draw people in right now. But the Atlanta Falcons, I think, are the much better team here. Tampa Bay's beat up, and I think that Atlanta's going to win this by at least 7. And I'm not going with minus 118. I will do something that I should not do. I will bump that up to minus 3. Whoops. Hold on. I will go minus 3 at plus 101 as an alternate line here because once it gets above minus 112, I have a hard time playing those point spreads. So I'm going to gamble because this is gambling. Try to get a little more juice for my dollar. And instead of going minus 118 at 2.5, I'll take a chance at Atlanta minus 3 at plus 101. So that's my second pick there. Then we are going to go to San Francisco and Dallas. And that is a Sunday night game. Let me get back to this in a second here. Looks like the Vikings are turning into the Vikes. Yikes. Don, I have a meme here. Yeah, I think I'm going to update it because I found it online the one time when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, and I will update it with my words here. If you've been choking for more than 60 years, you'd be purple as well. Penguin, just to let you know, and Mike knows this because he is my Monday co-host. Everything is done through email, so because of the platform that I use here. What do you get for $10? Everything you want. Everything? Everything. Matter of fact, I did do a video. I did do an Insta story a couple of weeks ago when the Browns were in town, and that infamous "I Love Massage" on North 9th Street in Chinatown section of Philadelphia. And I put the beginning of "Me So Horny" on there. So anyway, um, the Niners are in disarray. The Cowboys can't stop anything right now. I mean, if you gave their defense Imodium, kaopectate, whatever, they can't stop diarrhea right now. But San Francisco has a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball. They lost Brandon Ayuk for the year. What's his face? I'm pulling it up here because I'm drawing a blank on the name here. So forgive me for doing this again. Ayuk is out. Christ, who's the name that I'm thinking of here? Roster. No, not roster. Deebo Samuel. He had pneumonia this week, so I imagine he's going to play. But that is definitely something where I'm sure he might be limited. So you got a lot of issues in the San Francisco locker room right now. And you got a lot of problems in Dallas, but they got the bye week at the perfect time, even though Dallas is dog shit. But what I'm going to do here, because San Francisco's in such disarray this year and the Super Bowl hangover is kicking in for them this year, Mike may ask me to turn in my Eagles fan card. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys on the money line, plus 164. I mean, I would not be surprised if this is like a 45-41 game, but I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco has issues because of their top two guys being out and McCaffrey's out as well. They got a ton of injuries right now, and I think Dallas ends up winning that game outright. So that's my third pick. And we'll scroll back to the Eagles. Eagles take on the Bengals here. Once again, clock striking midnight on Sam Darnold. I agree. Mike is questioning my Eagles fandom because I picked the Dallas Cowboys. The one thing is, I will tell you, there are weeks that I will even pick against my Philadelphia Eagles. But this week is going to be a great test here. And, but I think that we are going to see what this Eagles defense can do. We're going to see if Jalen Hurts wants to throw over the middle of the field because he hasn't done that the last few weeks. But I think what we're seeing with the Eagles defense, 3 of the last 4 games, they did very well. We proved that New Orleans is a fraud. Held our own against Cleveland. The score's a lot closer than what it was, even though the offense was shit that day. And then you had the game with you had the game last week with the Giants, which you had that crazy stat where Saquon Barkley had 178 yards rushing in the game through 3 quarters, and the Giants had like 104 total for 3 quarters. But I think in the end here, I don't know what to make of the Bengals. I don't know what to make of the Eagles. And I pick every Eagles game. And last week was the first week I went with a prop bet. And, Saquon being the let the other guys eat guy, he made me eat a losing ticket, a virtual losing ticket because it was on FanDuel's website. But I'm not going to go to 3.5 with this line. I'll go +3 here at -118. I'll eat the vig here just for the sake of this. Or you know what? We don't have to do that. We're going money line. Screw it. +124. Eagles win. So +124 for my team, my town, my Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Actually, I got to get that sound drop of Vikings being the Vikings. No running game. Jefferson's getting upset. Hold on a second. Okay. So from there, we are going to go to the World Series pick, and I am going to remove that for a second, only because I don't know where it is on DraftKings, because this pick is going to be the series pick in general, and I just have to find it. Appearances. That's not it. Series correct score. There we go. Okay. Dodgers in 3. All right. Now, I think that the Dodgers are the better team. I think they're going to have a game or two that they're going to struggle. Let me bring this back up here. I'm going to zoom in a little more because I only need one pick here. So those are your 8 options. And everybody thinks it's going to be the Dodgers 4-2. And I am going to go numerologist on you. What was Fernando Valenzuela's number? 34. Don Juan says Roberts is making all the right pitching moves. Not sure how it's going to last. Well, when you got 10 bona fide, 10 great relievers, you can have only 3 starters. Um, so, anyways, Fernando Valenzuela, war number 34. 3 plus 4 is 7. It's a 7-game series. The Dodgers are going to lose 3 games, but they're going to win 4. So my World Series pick, which was originally Dodgers 4-2 when I was talking to SJ the other night after the show, I am going 4-3 Dodgers. I think I think you're going to get some heavenly magic from um, some heavenly magic from um, Fernando Valenzuela, and the Dodgers will be the world champions, and they will have a championship that goes with their asterisk trophy from 2020. So they will have their first full season championship since the 80s. So, um, and like Don said, they're making all the right moves. Um, so yeah, so it is going to be, I have the Dodgers winning in 7 here. And I think it's going to be a tight series. Um, you know, And I also think as well, sometimes you got to think outside the box with these picks. And like I tell you with a lot of my sports recaps and stuff like that, it's not necessarily X's and O's. It's also a lot of gut feeling, which is something you don't get in baseball anymore because everything is analytical. And the one thing is, you know, with analytics, you get anal, which is the first 4 letters of the word. But you get the idea. So just to give you all my picks here, um, USC minus 14 over Rutgers at minus 108. I respect Don's opinion about Rutgers taking Rutgers because USC doesn't blow teams out. Miami minus 21 over Florida State. Never would have imagined that would have been a 21-point game when the season started. In the NFL, Tennessee plus 11.5 over Detroit. I think Detroit still wins the game, but I think it's going to be a trap game for them, even though Tennessee is dog shit. I'm taking Atlanta on an alternate line of +3 at plus 101. I just don't want to take that minus 118 for 2.5. Dallas money line plus 164. Philly money line plus 124. And by the way, just to let you guys know, those that are Eagles fans that are going to be watching after the fact, even though it's been pounded into your head the last couple of weeks, the Eagles game is a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. I have to remember that because I will be having the one TV on the Red Zone channel while I work, and I'll have the other TV on the antenna with the Eagles game. Because when I have my Eagles game on, when I have the Eagles game on, and I have it on the TV with the cable box, this is going to update before the play ends up on my TV. So that's why I move the TV. I bring the one TV, move it over there, and I'll move it back on Monday night for when Mike comes in here. So those are my picks here. And also, once again, also eligible on the Bleacher Brothers platform Saturday morning, 10 a.m., 7 Pacific. We'll be looking at the races from Keeneland, the last 4 races. Hopefully, I can give you guys a winner. And, I hold myself accountable, even though, we're having fun with it. I do take records of everything. And if you saw that spreadsheet, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, Joe, you need a life. But 10 a.m. on the Bleacher Brothers platforms, we will look over the races from Keeneland on their closing day. So that is going to be it for this Thursday night and the final night of the week for the Joe Quill Show. I will be back Monday with another edition at 9 p.m. Eastern. Reminder, we go Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. We try to go to 11. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we go under. Wednesday is a 10 o'clock start. I follow the tea time with Chef Tom and Frank. Uh, I try not to go too long on Wednesday nights, but if I go long, it's maybe try to get some extra eyes on my show from uh, on the Twitch side. So I do appreciate everybody for joining me here tonight on Twitch, on X. Uh, Don Juan was here. Penguin AZ, great guys from the Tony Bruno crew. Mike is here, my co-host on Mondays. Anybody who's lurking, especially those lurking on X, thank you so much for joining me. And watch, you can even watch these shows after the fact. And probably late tonight or tomorrow morning, I will upload yesterday's show onto my my podcast, or and I will also do tonight's show. So for those that listen that way, you'll have two shows uploaded tomorrow morning. So I do appreciate everybody. I do appreciate everybody who takes the time even after the fact, because even though I'd love to get more viewers here, I do this um, not only for the show in general. I also do it for the fact that um, I that people have the opportunity to watch after the fact. And thank you so much, Don, for finding me again. And we'll do it live again on Monday here at twitch.tv/Joe Quills, on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, my YouTube, and my X. And we'll do it on Saturday morning, horse racing centric, the races from Keeneland. So have a great night, everybody. Catch you on Saturday, and if not on Saturday morning, Monday night. Have a great